Hey everyone, so I have restarted this video multiple times because I don't even know how to address it, but it's not a happy video, as I'm sure you can judge by the title. That being said, please watch this entire thing. I don't know how long it's going to be, but I just think it's just important, right, to really hear this story. And some of it is my memories and experiences, but it's about the greater impact. So for anyone who doesn't know, who hasn't been on social media, Brandon Cole, also known as Superblindman, has passed away. And if you're wondering who he was a blind gamer, and accessibility consultant and advocate. And he worked on The Last of Us 2, Mortal Kombat 1, and the latest Forza Motorsport, to name a few. He has had a massive impact in the community, and widely amongst blind gamers is recognized just as the person who has put blind gaming into the mainstream. I literally just had to make sure I wasn't muted. I'm like all over the place, so like a lot of what I'm gonna say is just not gonna be in a chronological order, so just bear with me. But just Brandon was a really good guy. Sorry, I may cut some of this out. Like, I don't know if I've ever been impacted by the loss of like someone in a community as I have been now, because I knew Brandon, I would consider us friends, and we messaged back and forth a lot and popped into each other's streams, but I know there are many other people out there who were like really good friends with him and knew him a lot better than I did. But I think everyone across the gaming accessibility community and the gaming community is feeling the impacts of this, because, and I actually created this video because Carlos, also known as KH Rattlehead, posted a similar video and inspired me to do the same, because I just think it's important to really share these memories, especially while they're still fresh, But in Carlos's video, and I'll link down below because you should really check him out, he said that people like Brandon, Steve Saylor, me, and others were like figureheads in the blind gaming community, but like I would put Brandon above anyone else. Like, that's how big of an impact he had on the community, because he was always so gracious, was always just full of energy and positivity, and I was directly inspired by him to really pursue game accessibility full time. Like, sorry, I just want to clarify and say that I'm not trying to say, our work doesn't matter and Brandon was the only one to do this and things like that. I'm not trying to put myself or anyone else down. I'm just saying that Brandon was the first to do a lot of this. Not saying that my work, Steve's work, Carlos's work, all these other people isn't as important. I just want to clarify that. I always saw it as a hobby. I always thought it'd be just fun to raise awareness on the side, but like when I learned about Brandon doing The Last of Us 2, it changed lives in so many ways that I don't think people realize. Like, yeah, blind gamers got to play this game. Yeah, blind gamers were recognized, but then like it even like caused like a personal shift in me, if that makes sense. And it's just like this big, massive butterfly effect. Something I also wanted to include about Brandon's character, because I don't feel like I'm properly doing it justice. I came across this tweet by Tyler Knife, who's another fantastic blind gamer, and he tweeted this because he felt it captured the essence of who Brandon was, and I completely agree upon reading it. I'm gonna read it in my own voice. I could use TTS, but you know, but I'm reading with a screen reader, so it may sound a little choppy, but bear with me. So this was a message from Brandon Cole to Tyler Knife, and it says, Brandon Cole, absolutely. This goes back to a principle I learned very, very early on in my career. Never ever design for the super user. Even if your strategy works for me as well, that changes nothing. We are not the baseline. The people who grab the game because they're curious, because they just want to try it. The ones who maybe haven't played many games before but decided to give this one a shot. That's who we need to design for. Some of the solutions I come up with for accessibility may sound too easy for someone like you, but they are also the reason I was able to tell that story about the woman who picked up a PlayStation console for the first time, because she wanted to try The Last of Us after watching the show, and she has now completed it. That is what I'm trying to do. I want to bring accessibility and playability to everyone. Nevertheless, until something is implemented, I will absolutely attempt your methods. I have this one specific memory when I was living at the Olympic and Paralympic Training Center when I was in the Paralympics. I think it was back in like 2019, around there-ish. And I was at the time trying to find like some sort of accessible FPS game. And I remember one night a friend and I were going to go to play D&D with a friend group, and I was like so stressed and so overwhelmed and defeated about the inability to find an accessible FPS, much less an accessible AAA game. I remember messaging Ian Hamilton, and if you guys don't know who he is a huge figurehead in the community as well, in terms of just game accessibility overall. He's been doing this for many, many years, and it's another big inspiration for me. And I remember messaging him and it was just pretty much just like really just down and I don't know if devastated is the right word, but just lost a lot of hope that game accessibility would be taken seriously, especially blind accessibility. But little did I know, and obviously I don't know the exact timeline, that during that conversation and like during this low point of basically feeling doom and hopelessness about game accessibility, like Brandon was working on The Last of Us, you know? And for anyone who doesn't like know why this is so huge, it's just, you know, I've talked about on my channel how I went blind, and I recently uploaded a short about it because it was recently the anniversary, and so I'm not going to repeat it. It's just, I'll put it in the description and comments if you want to go watch that. But basically, you know, I used to play a bunch of video games before I was blinded when I was 8, and after that, you know, it was really difficult to cope with the fact that I may not be able to do something I love so much. And so that's why what Brandon did and why he has this legacy is so impactful for people like me and many others, because as Carlos said in his video, like, and something I'm going to touch on is that game accessibility consulting advocacy, like, many times is thankless work. It's a lot of rejection. I mean, God knows, like, I, you know, reach out to studios and whatnot and don't hear anything back, but Brandon was one of the first, if not the first, to do that. He's been in the space, I mean, you know, he's older than me. I'm only 26. I think he was in his late 30s. I could be wrong. But I know that, like, I'm pretty sure back in like the early 2000s, maybe mid 2000s, he literally had like a mailing list about blind gaming. So like, this is something that Brandon loved, and you can tell by, I mean, that's all he would post about on social media, and like he would stream I mean, you could just tell that he loved video games and wanted to share that love with others and wanted everyone to experience that. And so to just have someone like that in the community to be gone, it just leaves like an empty feeling. You know, I woke up this morning and instantly saw the news and had people messaging me, and there's just not really words for it. And so it's like, you know, all the games that he's worked on, I've put so many hours into. I would probably say hundreds of hours into. The Last of Us games, Forza Motorsport, MK1, like those 3 alone. Who knows how many hours I put into The Last of Us. I bought a racing wheel for Forza, like right on my desk. I know you guys can't see it. And I've been getting back into MK1 recently, and so it's just like playing those games now. Like, I'm still going to, but it's definitely going to be very bittersweet. But like, that's his legacy, you know. That's what he did, and that's what he accomplished too. And I know this is kind of out of left field, but I had to mention it before I forget. You know, in Carlos's video, I guess he worked on Mortal Kombat as well, and so, you know, we always like to say one disabled person doesn't represent that entire group, and so I'm not trying to give that impression that like Brandon was the final word in terms of blind accessibility, but like, undeniably he played a major role in getting this ball rolling. And all that to say that like, Carlos played a huge role in Mortal Kombat as well, and is the #1 reason I got into fighting games back in high school. I never even knew they were accessible until I heard about, you know, Carlos competing at, I believe it was Evo in 2013, and it was either 2013 or 2012, sorry. But not only was Brendan a consultant and advocate, but like, he was a gamer too. Like, he was a hardcore gamer. And when I say this, I'm not fishing for compliments, I promise you, but like, I would consider myself an average gamer. Like, I love video games. But I'm not, you know, like, I'm not like some like legend or anything like that. Like, I just enjoy video games. But like, Brandon was like really good at video games too. Like, this man was meant to make a change in the gaming industry, and he did. He literally did. I mean, the Sento Showdown, for anyone who doesn't know, is an all-blind Mortal Kombat tournament run by Carlos and others. And I forget if it was the first or second year. I want to say it was the first year it happened, during MK11 days. And you know, I decided to join. I hadn't really played MK much lately, but I think I practiced for like a few weeks beforehand, right? I was the first one to get eliminated because there are just so many amazing blind gamers. But Superblindman, I'm pretty sure he got 4th in that tournament, which is incredible, because I guess all I'm trying to say is that, like, not only did he talk the talk, but he walked the walk. And so, you know, I keep saying it, but like, the legacy he left behind is just, we need to honor that in some way, whether it be, you know, sharing memories of him, whether it be continuing the work that he started, all these things. And, you know, I probably should have said this earlier, but I don't even know when I'm gonna upload this video. Probably Monday, because this sounds so out of touch to say, but like, I'm going on vacation on Monday, and so like, I had to pack this weekend, and so I don't know when I'm gonna get to add captions to this video and everything, but I guess for the record, this was recorded on Saturday, June 29th. Yeah. But it's like, it's, you know, just reminds you of how fragile life is, and you would think that I of all people would know that, and I do, but I also always say that we all have things that we take for granted. You know, just because I'm blind, just because I once had sight and now I'm blind, doesn't mean that I don't take other things for granted. And so whether that be the memories that we make, the friendships that we make, those are the things that you can also take for granted. And so, like, it just feels, the only word I can say right now is just wrong. That, like, I'm going on vacation and living my life while someone who's just made a massive impact in the world doesn't continue to see the fruits of his labor, you know? It's just sad. And it's like, it also seemed really sudden too. Like, I don't know about others, but like, I was keeping up with what was going on with his health issues on Twitter, and you know, things look optimistic. Like, he had melanoma, I believe. I don't want to get too into the details of what was going on with him, because I don't want to get it wrong, but he, you know, he had like a surgery to get it removed and things were looking optimistic. And I reached out to Missy, Brandon's fiance / wife, partner. Sorry, I'm not sorry. I just don't want to get you know, get confused, which I already am. But I reached out to Misty and just kind of asked for an update, and I learned that he was in the hospital. This was literally a few days ago. And I was like, you know, the medical bills are going to be an issue. Like, let me know, and I'm sure I and many other people in the community would be happy to run like fundraisers and charity streams. And I said that because that's exactly what the community did for me when I was blinded and in the hospital in North Carolina. And people always tell me, like, over the years, like, oh, you're so strong and blah blah blah, and I never know how to respond to that, because yeah, there's a certain amount of like internal strength, but really a lot of that comes from the people that are supporting you in the community that you're in. And so I guess, I don't know, even now, maybe there's something that we can do for Misty. I don't know. There's really not much to say to make anything better, anything to do to make it better, other than just rally around each other. So regardless, when I come back into town on the 10th, I thought it would be really cool to maybe do like, I think there's already been some sort of talk about this, so it may change, manifest in different ways. Sorry, my shoulder's really hurting. But I thought it'd be really cool to like do 3 streams of like one of the major games, one of each of the major games that Brandon worked on. So one day would be Forza, one day would be Mortal Kombat, one day would be The Last of Us. Because like I still stream all those games. Like those games are literally in my rotation of games that I stream. But I think that'd be something really cool to do. I thought it'd be cool to like maybe, I don't know, at the end of this video, like maybe I'll do a separate video, just like a compilation of just either things that people have to say about Brandon, or like even clips of like Brandon. I don't know, like I just think it's important to honor this man's legacy and his memory, because I firmly believe that decades down the line, when hopefully game accessibility is just absolutely mainstream, is a 100% consideration for any developer, that we will point to Brandon for blind accessibility. Because at the end of the day, I don't know what the saying is, but you know, we stand on like shoulders of giants before us, you know what I mean? So like, I'm only doing what I'm doing because of Brandon, right? And yeah, I mean, there's so many other things I can share, but I feel like I've made my point. I guess finally I'll just say that like Brandon was always incredibly gracious to me, you know, when I was figuring out the consulting stuff, and I mean I still am many times. Like, he was always happy to help answer questions, despite his busy schedule. And you know, he not only to me but to everyone else, he always uplifted people in the community. So it's just, he was a very selfless person, and it's just a shock, honestly. Like, that's all that can really be said, is it's a shock. I don't know how to really end this. I'm trying to rack my brain to think of anything else I missed that I'm gonna regret not saying, you know. But I guess, yeah, that's really about it. It's not, I think we're all gonna be feeling this for a very, very long time. Like, there's no way that I could even play any of these games even down the future without thinking about Brandon. But just know that he carved a huge path for gamers and consultants alike. And so I guess reach out to Misty to offer your words of support, and keep fighting for game accessibility, because I feel like that's what Brandon would have wanted. But yeah, I think that's really about it. Hopefully this wasn't too long, but you know, I'll post links, relevant links, in the description and the comment section. If there's any updates, I'll post those as well. But yeah, I guess stay tuned for the regular content train and going back to normal, right? Like, if that's a thing. But yeah, take care, everyone. Peace and love. Hug your friends and family. And yeah, until next time.